Hello, everybody. Welcome to Spill the Ink, brought to you by VallRell Events. I'm your host, Kristen, and with me today is multi-award-winning author Rebekah Weatherspoon. Thank you so much for joining us today, Rebekah.
Thank you for having me.
My very first question, what are you reading for funsies right now?
Funsies. Wow. What does that even mean these days? I just finished, I hope I'm not butchering this, Only for the Week, I think it's called, or Only for 1 Week. We can look that up after we're done talking, by Natasha Bishop. Really cute contemporary romance, like a group of friends go to Mexico to celebrate the heroine's sister's wedding. It's messy from the start because the sister is marrying the main character's ex-boyfriend, and that is dicey. It was really good. It was like it kind of reminded me of The Best Man, so it was like group of friends and all of like their different dynamics, a little sneaking around, that kind of thing, and also just like family drama, friend drama, all that. It was really, really good. So I just finished that the other day, but I haven't picked up anything new yet.
Okay. And do you normally read romance novels?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. That's like your genre.
Yeah, that's mostly what I read. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. And do you have any favorite authors, like your top 2 or 3 favorite authors that if they put something out, you're immediately going to read it?
Yeah. Anyone who knows me knows that Beverly Jenkins is like my favorite OG. If you haven't read her, you should. She writes contemporary African American romance and women's fiction, and then she also writes historical romance, and she's just amazing. Her books are flawless. I took a break, but I need to go back. I'm Nalini Singh. I'm reading her. I was reading like before I took a break her Side Changeling series. She like cannot miss. Like all of her books are so good. Even when I hate the characters, like I was reading one of the books and I was like, I hate these people so much, and it was still like a page turner. Like she has a gift for you to like want to like jump on the page and like murder the hero when you still absolutely love the book. Like that to me is a gift. So yeah, those are my top 2.
That's amazing. I love it when you hate the character so much, but they've made you feel something. So it's like
Yes.
they did their job. I want to kill them, but they did
Yeah.
their job.
Yes.
Okay. And so now, correct me if I'm wrong, you've written 24 published books.
Well, that sounds right. We'll go with that.
That sound right? Okay.
We'll go with that. Sure. Yes.
That's what I counted in my research. 24 published books, and most of them have been adult romance. You've just sort of stepped into young adult,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So what are your writing rituals? How do you get in the mood to write for each genre?
I mean, drafting rituals for me is like procrastinate as long as humanly possible while just like watching nonsense that I don't need to be watching. Like I have a book due, and they're in a really good Law and Order sweet spot right now on USA. So it's the early season. Elliot hasn't left yet. So I'm watching Law and Order with my laptop and like writing one sentence every hour. Yeah, I'm a big time procrastinator. I do try to outline, so like I will outline, and then after the outlining process, there will be some serious procrastination going on. If you see me tweeting a lot, it's because I'm writing a book. I know that doesn't sound like it makes sense, but like when I'm not drafting, like I'm like never on Twitter, but when I am drafting, I'm like, ooh, we should like get on Twitter and like see what's going on. So all of my writing rituals involve procrastinating as much as humanly possible.
And they involve Twitter. So
Yeah.
that's
Twitter and like whatever comfort television I've watched 900 or like weird. When I'm finishing a book, like I know when I'm like deep in it and I'm in like the home stretch, then I start watching 80s action movies or like 80s like political thrillers, like the old school Jack Ryan movies, or like I finished finishing one book and I was like deep watching Hunt for Red October. I was like, oh man. And I remember I wrote like a few chapters while watching that movie, and it was like it had to be done.
I love that. That's so far that's my favorite answer for writing rules. I gotta tell you. Now, did you know you always wanted to be a writer?
No, no. When I was a kid, for a minute, when I thought I like had to be practical, I told my dad one day I wanted to be a pharmacist. And he looked at me like I was nuts because I was like 9, and he was like, "Do you even know what a pharmacist does?" And I was like, "No, I just like sounds like mature." So I thought I was gonna be a pharmacist for a little while. I thought I was gonna go to law school for a hot minute, and then I finished college, and I just was like, I can't take another standardized test. Like I couldn't do it. I started teaching middle school, and they're like, "Okay, well, you have to get your master's at some point." And I was like, "I will," and then I quit teaching, so that never came up. And then I worked at a Verizon in a Circuit City. Um, and then I moved out to LA to do screenwriting and like fell into TV production stuff. And then while I was doing that, I fell into the world of fan fiction with like some of the women I was working with. And then that's how I ended up getting into writing.
Okay, so writing your own fan fiction for
Yeah.
things?
Yeah.
What were you writing?
I started when I started reading it, it was like right around when what was it? Hairspray came out,
Yeah.
and I was like obsessed with Zac Efron in that. So like I did I did like a Zac Efron like I went backwards. So I was like I watched no, when I was teaching I watched High School Musical because my students were like, let's watch High School Musical. And then but that didn't like sell me on him. That didn't like it wasn't until Hairspray where I was like, okay, I'm seeing it. So I went back and I watched Summerland. For anyone, that show was terrible and the best show I've ever seen because it was like Dawson's Creek but like aged down almost because the
Okay.
kids were like younger. I feel like who was on that? One of the Pennebaker sisters was on that, and Aunt Becky was on it. She played one of the from Full House. She played one of the parents. I don't know why, or Lori Loughlin, that's her name. And then Jesse McCarthy was on it back when he was like singing and acting at the same time.
Okay.
So we were deep into Summerland, and then I was reading some like High School Musical fan fiction, and then I read Twilight. So I was like, oh, well, I'll just read Twilight fan fiction and like see what's going on there. And then I started writing Twilight fan fiction, and then I just spiraled into everything else.
What a good descent down into the writing rabbit hole. Like
it was a mess, but I was enjoying myself, so it's okay.
So out of all of your books and novellas that you've written,
Yeah,
what is your favorite? Who are your favorite characters?
It's like picking a child. I can't. I think like there's a handful of books that I've like hated writing, and not because of the story itself, but just like something was like going on in the world, or it was just like I wrote like my whole cowboy or two of the books in the cowboy trilogy. I wrote like basically during the first year and some change of the pandemic. So that was just like cruel and unusual punishment, just trying to like claw my way through that. And I think if you talk to any writer who was like trying to like draft something during, especially in 2020, that was just awful. So I have books that I didn't enjoy the process of writing them, but I usually when I'm writing a book, I like all of my stories. I'm not, if I didn't, I wouldn't put them out.
Right.
So I don't really have like a favorite. I was really happy with A Thorn in the Saddle. Her Good Side again was one that was really hard to write. I think that's the most drafts I had to write. But like when it was done, I was like, oh, I really love this book, and I had a lot of fun writing Sated, which is the third book in the Fit trilogy.
Okay.
And then Rafe was really easy. I think Rafe and Fit, I wrote those just like flowed. Those were super easy to write. So I guess you could say like those two were the easiest, but
I'm reading the first I'm reading the first Fit book right now.
Yeah.
And yeah, I appreciate how easily your dialogue flows between your
Oh, thank you.
characters.
Thank you.
Which I mean, it's probably a weird compliment, but a good compliment to get. But because sometimes I'll read a book and I'm just like, people would never say that to each other. But so
Sure.
far, I've read two and a half of your books,
Sure. Sure.
right? Because I'm halfway through Fit, and just every set of characters that you introduce become my favorites.
Oh,
And
thank you.
yeah, so it's sorry, my little fangirl moment.
No, 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 favorite.
Now, you mentioned your Cowboys series, Cowboys of California.
Yeah.
So I know it got optioned for a TV pilot.
Yes.
Can you talk about that a little bit? Give us a
Sure.
little.
It's very boring. Um, for your viewers, listeners, and everything. The mystery of the arts, right? Everything looks so flashy from the outside. It's emails and phone calls. It's so many emails and phone calls.
Mhm.
Um, I Valerie Woods, who optioned it, she's most recently worked on Queen Sugar and Sweet Magnolias on Netflix. I know everyone knows those shows. She's wonderful. Off the top of my head, I can't remember how she found me, but she found me. I can't remember. There was like other people involved, but I can't remember like who the book went to first, that kind of thing. But
Mhm.
um, a now mutual friend of ours who's also a producer, they linked up. A book was passed in that sense, and Valerie really liked it. And so yeah, she reached out to me. We talked. We really clicked. She said she was really interested in it, and then we decided to work together and go for it. So I've been learning a lot from her. This is the first time that I've ever done anything like this, so it's interesting, like, to like read someone else's like script of something that you wrote, which is like really trippy. um but no, it's been like a really great learning experience for me. Valerie's really chill, so that's also very helpful because it's nice to work with very chill people. And Hollywood takes 9,888 years to get anything done, so she's still moving and shaking on it. Obviously the strike is happening right now, so she's striking. But hopefully when things resume and things calm down a little bit. I mean, again, the last few years have just been so crazy too because of the pandemic. Everything, like, so many things shifted around. So yeah, we'll see what happens, but hopefully, fingers crossed, it actually like gets greenlit and becomes a show.
And goes and does a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But how much input do you get to have in that as the writer of
Um,
the story?
I guess like a decent amount, in the sense that like we've like given each other notes, which has been really great. Again, like the show's not going yet, so like nothing's happened in the sense that like I haven't had input in like an actual show. But I feel like Valerie's been really collaborative with me, and like she shares everything with me. She takes my notes if I have notes, that sort of thing. So yeah, like so far I've been fairly involved in like the creative side and what she's been trying to produce. And then we've done some meetings together. She's done a bunch of meetings without me, but it's always in the loop, and it's so far so good. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And do you have like a writing agent? Is there somebody else that's a part of your team that's also sitting in on those meetings with you?
Sure. Yeah. So I have my literary agent, and then she works with like a film and TV agent. They're not in the same agency, but they're like in cahoots. So yeah, so they both helped me get this party started, basically.
Okay. Very
Yeah.
cool. I mean, I know for a lot of writers, like that's the dream is to have
Oh
somebody
yeah.
want to like come and like option for a movie or a TV series. Make sure you put it on your calendars, 7 p.m. PST, on August 31st. We'll be having a Zoom meeting to talk about the book. We'll see you there. Hi, everybody. It's Kristen with VallRell Events, inviting you to our August book club. We're going to be reading Rebekah Weatherspoon, Southern New Hampshire. We'll be having a Zoom meeting to talk about the book. We'll see you there. Hi, everybody. It's Kristen with VallRell Events, inviting you to our August book club. We're going to be reading Rebecca Ross's Divine Rivals. Make sure you put it on your calendars, 7 p.m. PST, on August 31st. We'll be having a Zoom meeting to talk about the book. We'll see you there. With the books that you've written, I know that most of them have been adult romance. You've
Yeah.
just started writing young adult. Is there a just why did you switch into writing young adult all of a sudden, or what has
Sure.
been in the works?
I've been wanting to write young adult forever. It's just the timing like was off. Um, and whenever I like finish a project or I have like a break, I have like a list of things that I want to write. It's like a really long list, and I always like just share it with my agent. And I had like a few young adult projects on that list, and she's like, "Cool, just like write the books, dude." So then we just had like a break in the schedule. Like I finished the cowboy books, and she was like, "Okay, like like what do you want to go out with next? What are you thinking about?" We had a great conversation, and she was like, "I think right now would be a great time for a young adult rom-com," and I was like, "Awesome." So I just had the idea that I had, and then came up with a proposal for that, and she took it out and sold it.
Love it. And that was Bethany and Jacob in Her Good Side,
Yes.
right? Yes. Okay. That was my first Rebekah Weatherspoon book. I love it. I particularly like the fact that Bethany is plus size and very athletic and very, very in love with herself and the way that she looks.
Yes.
And also non-apologetic about the fact that she's a plus size woman that likes to cook and eat and is a foodie.
Yes. Yes.
I
Yeah,
think
I
that's
think
really
I mean,
important.
yeah, I think it's really important. And I think like for me, that's kind of like how I was growing up. I always like thought, I mean, not that I wasn't fat shamed to the end of the earth, because boy was I, but for me, it was always like when people were like fat shaming me, I was always kind of like, why are we doing this? I guess I never internalized it as like, oh, they're right. I more so was like, but I'm great. Like what? Like why? Why do I need to change? Also, like I grew up in a really white area, so that was like a whole other thing because I was like, I'm already different because I'm black. So like, I mean, we can talk about that for days, but it was kind of like I think it's a slippery slope if we're talking about how I gotta like change myself. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like
Mhm.
you guys want me to be a thin white girl, like it's just not gonna happen. So let's just enjoy where we are, let's just enjoy who we are. It's not that serious, like, and I think I wanted Bethany to also feel that way. And obviously, one of her moms does kind of not give her issues with her weight, but she's like, watch what you eat because of sports and blah blah. And she's kind of like, it's not that serious, dude. Like, I can have a ham sandwich, it's not gonna kill anybody. It's fine.
Right. So I know that you've started writing your young adult novels. Do you have anything else coming down the pipeline we should be watching for?
Sure. So I'm actually writing the second one now, the follow-up to Her Good Side. And then in the fall, which is like in an hour, I'll be writing the follow-up to Rafe and Zenny. So that's been in the pipeline for a very long time with a character that I think pops up. I think her first appearance she might be name dropped in Fit, but she's definitely in Sated. So it's been a long time coming. She deserves her book. So I'm finally going to write that this year.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And so this channel is basically for upcoming authors, new authors, anybody that's trying to write. What would your best piece of advice be for a new author?
One, like actually just focus on the writing. I know it's especially with social media, which is like a blessing and a curse. Sometimes it feels like you should be focused on like your cover or like obsessing over getting an agent or like all that stuff. You can't do any of that stuff until you like finish the book, right? Like you gotta like write the book, and you have to write the best book you can write, right? And when I say write the best book you can write, I don't mean write the best book ever written. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying write a book that you feel like is really good work coming from you, right? Write something that you are happy with, something that you would want to read. And it better be something that you want to read, because you're going to read it 988 times. That's the other thing. You're going to reread your own books a lot, so you better enjoy them. And yeah, I think just, pick up some craft books, read a lot, and I say read a lot not so you can like emulate someone else, but just so you can get a better sense of like story flow. When you read a lot too, you'll see like what books you hated and like what didn't work. Like, was it a character issue? Was it pacing? Was it even like just the setting? Like me, I don't like reading books where it's cold. Like, I just don't like. I think the only book I've written where it's cold, I think, is Haven, and even then, it's actually like not that cold. There's one author who writes these like really great like trapped like in a snowy place, and her writing is so good, but I hate being cold, so I like never want to read her book. But you'll like learn a lot about yourself, and you'll also just learn a lot about like what it takes to like publish a book. And it's not necessarily like about, I don't want to say quality, because every editor has their own taste and all of that, but it's like you'll get to see what a book looks like finished, right? What it looks like finished. And if you get in the habit of really looking at like finished products, you'll have a better sense of like, okay, how do I get this as close to a finished product as I can before I start sending it to agents and all of that. And then my other tip is like, beef up your confidence, baby. Like, a lot of authors are really self-deprecating, and I get that urge, but like, you are going to spend all of your career, you have to sell your books. Like, you have to, you know what I mean? You have to be able to, even if you're in casual conversations with people, you have to like have the confidence to be like, yeah, I'm an author, and like this is what I write, and you will hand sell so many of your books that way just by having the confidence to be like, yeah, I write books, and this is what they're called, and this is where you can find them. And a lot of authors don't want to do that, and it's like, no, do that. Like, do that. Have that confidence. Be like, yeah, I did this thing. You should check it out.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And my last question for you.
Sure.
What is your best advice for a new author trying to find a publisher or a lit agent?
Sure. So most of the big publishers, you're going to need to have a literary agent. I would recommend finding a literary agent. Some small presses will take people without a literary agent, but then I would still even then try and find a lawyer to like go over the contract with you and all that kind of stuff, just so you're not getting like screwed out of money or like whatever. The easiest way to do it, actually, depending on what you're writing. So if like you're writing sci-fi or whatever you're writing, okay, find authors, more than one, who either you like, not necessarily admire their career, but like you see their books, their books are out there, like whatever. Then see who their agents are, right? Mm-hmm. And then from there, I would come up with a list of at least like 20 agents. So like if, again, in romance, like, I don't know, like I'll say Nora Roberts just because she's like, well known. I have no idea who Nora Roberts' agent is, by the way, but look up like Nora Roberts, look up even like, I don't know, Danielle Steele, whatever. And just see like, or even, smaller, lesser known people, not the greatest writers of all time, but, and just find out who their agents are. Thank God for the internet, because that information is actually like really easy to find. And then you'll have your list of like 20 people. I actually made a spreadsheet when I was first querying, and I like wrote down like when I sent them the query, who I sent it to, what agency they were with, all that. And then I like put like how long it took them to like get back to me, and if it was like a rejection or if it was a request. My favorite one was that I got rejected in 13 minutes. It was like an auto reply, but it's fine. That agent actually came back years later and offered me representation. So again, like, don't worry about rejections. Everybody gets rejected. It's fine. So yeah, I make like a list of all your people and then just start sending them out. And remember that you only need one agent. You don't need every agent. You need one agent. And then, it's just then you're into the career of writing, and you're into like going through the process of like selling a book and editing a book and putting out a book and promoting a book, and then you start that process all over again. And sometimes you were doing that with 3 different projects at once, and and then sometimes you fire an agent and then you got to go find another one. And I think sometimes people forget that like a career doesn't necessarily have like a begin, like the end is you die, but like it's not, it's supposed to be ongoing, right? It's supposed to have those ups and downs. It's not supposed to just be like, oh, I wrote a book and I hit the New York Times bestseller list and I'm done. Like that's not how that works. You just keep writing, and then you age gracefully and you write some more, so don't stress too much about like, oh, I got a rejection. But every author of has gotten plenty of rejection. That is a part of it. But yeah, just research people you want to submit to, people you think you want to work with, and then you'll talk to some people and be like, oh, actually I don't want to work with that person, and that's fine. And then you'll find your person.
Wonderful. Awesome. Last thing, I gotta see the nails.
Oh sure.
They're wonderful.
There's a little gold on the index finger right in there.
A little gold drip. That's gorgeous. I love it.
I don't know if you can see it. There's like a gold trim there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Well, that's all we have for you today on Spill the Ink with VallRell Events. I've been your host, Kristen. Rebekah, thank you so much for coming to hang out with us. This was such a wonderful interview. I'll have all of Rebekah's social medias linked in the description below. And as always, we have a new episode come out every Wednesday. So make sure you follow us here on VallRell Events so that you can keep up with all of our content. Thank you so much and have a good afternoon.